What's good, y'all? It's your boy Habit. Final round. Finally found some film footage of Canelo Alvarez, some recent film footage. This is as recent as it gets. It's against Billy Joe Saunders. I've been getting a lot of complaints in the comments section below saying I'm not using anything of recent and that Canelo's a completely different fighter. Look, you guys, I get flagged and the promoters tend to block the video. I can't just use anything. I have to find what I can and use what I can. But hopefully this doesn't get blocked, so cross our fingers. There's some good stuff in here to help us understand a little bit more for the up and coming fight with Caleb Plant. But this is also for anybody who's just competing in boxing or training and they just want to learn strategy, technique, or breaking down a fight. But here's my question, you guys. What is Canelo Alvarez doing so stylistically different that he did from 8 years ago? Now, is he a different fighter from 8 years ago? Of course, he's more seasoned. His attributes has improved, his speed, his power. I would say the only thing stylistically that's drastically different is his head movement, which obviously creates more countering opportunities. But other than that, it's still the same approach he takes with back-footed fighters. Cut off the ring, put pressure, rip you to the body, eventually get to the head and get you out of there. But let's check it out. Look, I'm gonna be critical at critiquing Canelo at points or exposing some of the holes of his game. Doesn't mean I think he's gonna lose to Caleb Plant. Doesn't mean I don't think he's not pound for pound. Doesn't mean I'm rooting against him. I'm just talking boxing, you guys. Chill out. I know you Alvarez fans are a little bit sensitive. But I like what Canelo does in this fight. He kind of rips out a page from Roy Jones's book and not using his jab in a sense and doing it in a strategic manner. Obviously, we have two mirrored stanced opponents, one southpaw, one orthodox, and Canelo knows that his jab isn't going to line up as easily, and he knows he has a back-footed counter puncher in front of him. So he says, okay, I'm not going to throw my jab out too much throughout this fight as consistently as I usually do and fully extend it, because I don't want Billy Joe to key off of anything I have. If he can't key off my jab, then he's going to be lost in space. You know, he's not going to be able to gauge the distance or get any sort of timing. You know, because Canelo's not throwing his jab out as frequently and consistently, Billy Joe can't come over the top and counter with the right hook. He can't shoot his left cross and shoot a counter. So it was a brilliant move on Canelo's part. And a big weapon for Canelo is going to be his left hook to the body. That's going to be one of the ways he cuts off the ring against the southpaw. He knows that Billy Joe wants to be lead foot dominant and pivot it to the outside and expose those angles. And he's going to prevent that by throwing that left hook down to the body. And that's going to break him down. And that's going to easily line him up. And that left hook to the body is also going to set something up later in this round and constantly throughout the fight. He's going to ingrain it in Billy Joe's head. Every time he pivots out to the right, he's going to catch a left hook to the body. And right there, Canelo just misses an uppercut, but he's going to land that. There's a nice little move he's doing. Canelo does such a great job at not being too predictable and changing it up and being creative, because he's not always going to throw that left hook. He's going to throw it a lot, but he's not always going to throw it. Sometimes he's going to pivot to the inside and shoot that right uppercut, whether it be to the head or the body, or right cross or right hook to the body, and it changes it up. It doesn't make him predictable. Right here, he's doubling up, and boom, that's what he set up all night. So he establishes the left hook to the body, okay, and then when he gets Billy Joe to a corner or to the back of the ropes, he's going to shoot that double jab. And Billy Joe had an option. In the back of Billy Joe's mind, he's thinking, well, if I pivot out to my right, I'm getting stuck in the corner. If I pivot out to my right, I'm going to catch that left hook to the body. So I'm going to go to my left this time. All right, that's my only escape route. Canelo Alvarez knew that, and when Billy Joe decided to duck out to the left, Canelo Alvarez ran him into that right hook. Brilliant setup. And now Billy Joe's going to be stuck in a position to where he doesn't know what to do. Like right here, boom, doubles up on the jab, throws another right hook to the body. And you saw that Billy Joe Saunders didn't know where to go. He didn't know whether to go right or whether to duck out left, because if he goes left, right hook to the body. If he goes to his left, he gets the right hook to the body. If he goes to his right, he gets the left hook to his body. This is the beauty, good head movement by Canelo. This is the beauty of fighting or being a pressure fighter. You know, there's a science to pressure fighting, and it's very effective if you do it correctly. You make your opponent very predictable. And I hate Billy Joe's guard throughout this fight. I wish he fought with his hands down more. He had more success when he fought with his hands down at periods in this fight than when he kept his guard up. And like I was saying, Billy Joe is actually letting Canelo counter him because he keeps on probing with that lead hand and shooting his jab and giving Canelo a sense of timing and distance. He's leading the dance to a certain extent, right? He may not be backing Canelo down, but by sticking that lead hand out, he's actually exposing himself to being countered by Canelo Alvarez. And all Canelo Alvarez has to do is probe with that high guard. When you know he's in that high guard, you know he's looking to counter with something. And he's also tapping the lead hand of Billy Joe down, right? He's gently tapping down, and that gives him a way to find the distance and timing, okay, without having to fully extend his jab and possibly get countered by the back-footed fighter. Canelo probing with that high guard, and that guard by Billy Joe Saunders is just not good, man. You know, the beauty, see, a lot of people complain about some fighters when they drop their guard. I mean, it all depends if they know what they're doing and there's a method to the madness. The beauty of fighting with your guard down is that, for one, it makes it a lot harder for your opponent to see where your punches are coming from because they're coming from the waistline, right? Okay? It's a lot harder to see where punches are coming from when I can kind of throw them from the waistline than from up here. I can see what's happening up here, but I can't see as easily what's coming at me when they're coming from the waistline. Another thing is you're more relaxed. Okay, when you're more relaxed, you're quicker, you're more efficient, you're more calm and composed, and you're going to save energy as well. You know, that's all a result of keeping your hands down. Another thing is you can see better. When you got that high guard, sometimes you can block your own vision. If your hands are down, you can respond defensively if you have good head movement in the appropriate manner. And here's the big thing, why it was so important for Billy Joe to drop his guard or at least get in some sort of Philly shell. You know, a lot of you complain when I say, Caleb Plant needs to execute that Philly shell. I'm not saying he has to be Mayweather. I'm not saying he needs to imitate him. What I'm saying is he needs to protect his body at all costs, and that's a good guard to protect your body. Notice the common denominator amongst Billy Joe Saunders and Amir Khan. You got Billy Joe Saunders, southpaw, guard up here, mid-range to high, and then you got Amir Khan right here, mid-range type high guard. You're exposing all this to Canelo Alvarez. This is all a buffet to him. And I rather protect my body at all costs, take some risk. Hopefully you got a good chin, take some risk. And yes, I may get clipped upstairs, but at least I have my legs up under me. My legs are fresh and they're up under me. But if I go 6 to 8 rounds to where he's just ripping me to the body and I'm not protecting it, then my legs are going to betray me. I'm going to start cramping up in the midsection. I'm going to lose my movement. Now I'm a sitting target. My guard's going to drop as a consequence. And then he's just going to start teeing off on me and break my orbital and knock me into another dimension. So if you're Caleb Plant, protect your body. You're not trying to be Floyd Mayweather. You're just trying to protect your body, and that Philly shell does a good job of caging your body. Or even if you keep your hands down, it still does a good job of caging those vital organs. And you look at Landy Lara, Danny Jacobs, Floyd Mayweather, what did they all have in common? They were utilizing that Philly shell throughout the fight, protecting their body. It eventually would frustrate Canelo Alvarez. He would abandon trying to cut off the ring. It would throw him off his game. He would try to counterpunch more and pull back to find openings. And you could go 12 rounds and make it an interesting fight. Mayweather beat him. A lot of people think Lara beat him. I don't think he did, but it was definitely a close fight. If Lara sat down on more of his punches, I think he would have won that fight. But nonetheless, he made it 12 rounds. Danny Jacobs, supposedly not even on Canelo's, level, but he was able to go 12 rounds and frustrate Canelo throughout that fight. Believe it or not, a lot of people thought it was one-sided. Well, nonetheless, Danny Jacobs made it 12 rounds, and I wonder why. But all I'm saying is Caleb has the right tools to create this frustration and make it 12 rounds. It's just a matter if he plays his hand correctly. Like Billy Joe had some nice advantages in this fight, but he just didn't utilize them. Every time he fights with his guard up, all he's doing is making Canelo's job a lot easier. And another thing that I don't like about Billy Joe, he came out in the fight and it's almost like he got settled down into range too quickly. You know, he's staying kind of mid to outside range, sitting on his punches, when the first few rounds, you know, jump around a little, get on your toes, move around, change levels, feint a little bit. You know, if you're going to shoot the jab, shoot it down to the body, get in, get out. And water Canelo down before you start settling in and sitting on your punches and letting your hands go. Water him down, frustrate him. Another thing is you don't see Billy Joe clinching up too much. Now, obviously, you have to do it strategically, because if you don't, then you know, the ref's going to call you on it, and he's going to flag you and take a point away if you're just clinching. But most guys, believe it or not, do not have a sophisticated clinch game. And I like this guard by Billy Joe. Check it out. Look at him. Nice. He's missing most of those punches. Good head movement by Canelo. But notice how Canelo kind of pulled back when he couldn't gauge where that lead hand of Billy Joe was. Once again, Billy Joe goes back to his high guard, and not a good idea. But you know, you're going to need a good clinch game, but you got to be smart about how you use it. Most fighters just use clinching when they're absolutely exhausted and tired, or maybe they're out on their feet, they're hurt, they're trying to hold on for dear life. But you can use clinching in a sophisticated, in a strategic manner, like Mayweather did. You know, everyone thinks Mayweather was like doing these things that no other fighter could. He was just relying on gifted abilities. No. Mayweather has roughly around the same talent as most of these top-tiered fighters. It's just the subtlety, the fine details in his game, and that he utilizes to make a huge difference. So Mayweather knew how to frustrate Canelo. Beautiful body work by Canelo. Knew how to frustrate Canelo by tying him up. He would pot shot and then immediately tie up. And that's very slick, because if you throw a pot shot and tie up, the ref can't really complain about it because you're launching an attack. But he would tie up immediately after and stifle Canelo's offense, frustrating him. Canelo couldn't get down to the body because Mayweather would protect his body and roll with those punches. And then he would counter up top and just shoot a quick jab. You don't need power to beat Canelo. You just have to play your cards intelligently. A lot more easier said than done, right? But nonetheless, it's possible. Billy Joe with his hands down. I like this guard. I like it. Lead hand down. And look, Canelo has nothing to key off of. Look how he's backing down Canelo at this point. Okay, right here, Canelo gets back into action. I like when Billy Joe has his lead hand down. He fights better in this fight when he keeps his lead hand down. Okay. A little awkward here, but nonetheless, I like it better. And boom, blocks that body shot. He can see it coming a lot easier. But then he returns to his high guard, you know. And okay, lead hand down. I like it. Rolls that body punch. Brings his guard back up. Not good. Ooh, beautiful uppercut by Canelo Alvarez. Steps back. He notices the head slot of Billy Joe Saunders, and he comes with an uppercut. You know, Canelo will back up at times, especially when you launch an attack. He'll clear the space, let you waste punches on air, which also wears you down a little bit. And eventually you're going to see Canelo start pouring on the pressure eventually. When you see Canelo start throwing punches to the head, that means he's getting the sense that he's got you where he wants you. He's going to start teeing off. But what makes him a great fighter, he still understands, I'm still going to go down to the body, like Andre Ward did against Sergey Kovalev. Andre Ward had Kovalev where he wanted him, but he still went back downstairs. He would sneak shots up atop, but he would still be consistent downstairs. That's what a great fighter does. Another thing Billy Joe didn't do too great of is establishing a body attack. You know, great fighters understand, okay, if my opponent's going to hit me to the body, I'm going to tag him back. I'm going to match him. Not only match him, sometimes I'm going to double down and try to get one up or one up them. So if you get me down to the body, I'm going to tag you down to the body. I might even try to sneak another one. You got to slow Canelo Alvarez down. And Canelo does have a point in this fight to where he does kind of get a little bit winded, okay? But Billy Joe's never really takes advantage of it. He just did not play his cards correctly in this fight. And Canelo just being very consistent, very patient, cutting off the ring. You know, when you see him kind of, even when he throws his jab, he's not always fully extending it, right? He's kind of just touching up the lead hand of Billy Joe to find where he's at, and then he shoots down to the body. And eventually he goes up top. He just mixes it up very well. That's all you need to do. Just don't be predictable. Don't do the same thing. He mixes it up very nicely. And he doesn't get enough credit for how quick his feet are, okay? Just because he doesn't dance around like Muhammad Ali doesn't mean he has bad feet. Actually, he has... Oh, okay, see, look at this. Hands down, I like this from Billy Joe. Look how he counters. Boom, beautiful. It's because he can see better. He's more relaxed. His punches are coming out quicker. Canelo has nothing to gauge. Look at this. Beautiful work by Billy Joe. If this is what if he fought like this throughout the fight, this would have been competitive. Oh, starting to bring it. Okay, keep your hands down. Nice, nice. Look at him move. He's moving well, staying on the outside, sticking and moving. Don't get me wrong, Canelo's still sneaking in his shots. But look how Canelo has to shoot his jab now. Okay, when Billy Joe keeps that lead hand down. There's nothing for him to gauge, so he has to start shooting his own jab. And if you're a counterpuncher, that's what you want. And that's another beautiful thing about fighting with your hands down. It's a nice form of bait. Okay, especially if you want to be the counter puncher, okay, and you don't want to lead the dance. It's a nice form of bait because a lot of guys, it's just instinctual. When you see an opponent with their hands down, you tend to want to attack. And when your opponent just comes and launches himself at you, or he's giving you something to key off of, now you can counter. But, you know, Billy Joe keeps on bringing his guard back up. Like right now, I don't like this. And this gives, and look how Canelo's able to find the distance because Billy Joe keeps on shooting that jab or probing with his lead hand. And he's not even shooting like a good, honest jab where he's closing his fist. He's kind of pitter-pattering with it, and it's not getting Canelo's respect. If you're going to give Canelo something to key off of with that lead jab, at least shoot it out there with authority or be sharp with it. Disrupt his timing, disrupt his rhythm. And Billy Joe doesn't really give too many different looks, becomes predictable in his movement, and he's just getting shredded right now. But I'll say this, I mean, this fight was stopped because of a broken orbital. Now, obviously, Canelo deserves all the credit in the world because he set that up, essentially. Look right here, we got Billy Joe with his lead hand down. I like this. He has more success. He gets more respect. Feint right here. Feint your way out the ropes. Feint your way out the corner. Boom. Keeps a high guard. Gets ripped to the body. A little bit of body work there. Okay, see, he's backing down Canelo a little. This is where Canelo gets a little bit tired. Not too tired, right? Oh, nice left hand by Billy Joe. Nice left cross. Backing Canelo up a little bit. A little fatigue. Got the lead hand down. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. See, that's what you need to do throughout the fight. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind if you change your guard and go to that high guard every once in a while. It's nice. That's one thing Danny Jacobs did a phenomenal job at. Constantly changing his guard. He would go from the Philly shell to mid-range to high. He would go southpaw and give different looks. It changes the timing of rhythm and what you're doing. It makes you unpredictable. And Canelo essentially has to reset. Billy Joe back with his lead hand down. Like it. Look at his defense. So much better. So much relaxed, more fluent. And he can counter better. He can see what's coming, and he gets his offense off more. But when he keeps that high guard up, man, he pays the price downstairs. And it's unfortunate he didn't recognize this earlier because by the time he kind of figures stuff out, it's too late. Canelo already put his body work in. He already invested those dividends, and they exponentially grew over time. And you're going to start to see Billy Joe slow down. His footwork's going to betray him, or his legs are going to betray him. He's going to start to be a sitting target. You're going to see him start to hunch over. He's going to be reaching for punches. It's not a good feeling. I know how that feels when you're getting ripped down to the body constantly, and now it's almost like he can't move. It's like a car with no gas. It ain't gonna go nowhere. Don't matter how fast, big, strong you are, smart. If you ain't got no gas in the tank, you ain't going nowhere. You can have a Ferrari, you can have a Hummer. If you don't got no gas in the tank, you are not going anywhere. And those body shots will take all the gas out of your tank. Protect the body at all costs. Caleb Plant has the right tools. I like his guard. I like that he utilizes that Philly shell. I like that his lead hand's going to be coming from the waistline. But is he going to play his cards correctly? You know, does he have the best head movement at times? No, he tends to get clipped. But still, I rather Caleb Plant stay in that guard and protect the body than exposing everything downstairs and his foundation getting ripped apart like you see with Billy Joe Saunders. And he doesn't knock Billy Joe Saunders out. He doesn't knock Billy Joe Saunders out, you guys. So that's something to think about. You're going to get a bigger, nice left hook to the body by Canelo. You're going to get a big version in terms of Caleb Plant, more skilled, better jab in my opinion. I think Caleb Plant's a better boxer than Billy Joe Saunders. On top of that, he's from the States, so he's going to have, you know, he's going to have better training, okay? Better sparring partners, better training. I really do believe Caleb's a better boxer, more creative. I think he has a little bit more pop on his punches. Caleb will use feints. My only issue with Caleb, he tends to fade in the later rounds where it's critical. That's when you're going to need to be 100% against Canelo. That's when you have to take over the fight. Look how he rolls with the punches when he keeps that lead hand down. I just don't know why it never clicked in Billy Joe's head like, oh, this is working, I need to keep doing it. Easier said than done, right? When you're going up against Canelo, you get punched in the face, right? But you know, you got to be able to pick up on that stuff in the middle of a fight. And one thing Billy Joe should have done is, even though it was hard to get that left cross off in this fight, why not take a page out of Canelo's book? Notice how Canelo will throw that left hook to the body. Why not throw your right hook to the body? Okay? Sometimes you got to mirror your opponent. Oh, that's working for him. Let me try it. Why not throw your left hook downstairs if you're Billy Joe? You know, throw your hooks to the body just like Canelo Alvarez is doing. Okay, you can't get your left cross down because it's a little too risky. You have a lot of respect for Canelo's power. Throw those hooks to the body. It might not always land clean. You might catch elbow, but at least you're getting a sense of where your opponent is at in space. But yeah, that's it, you guys. I mean, we know what happened. We didn't get the whole film, but pretty much he had his orbital broken, and that ended the fight. He didn't get knocked out, though. Think about that, you guys. This is what I'm saying. We can't. Styles make fights. We have to be very careful before we overlook Plant. There might be some things to take note of here. One of the things I'm starting to wonder is that Caleb Plant, he's going to be bigger, okay? Now, a lot of you said, well, Canelo's beating bigger guys like Callum Smith and Sergey Kovalev. First of all, Sergey Kovalev, let's sift through this carefully before we just start jumping to conclusion this is going to be an easy-peasy fight. It might be. I'm still computing this in my head, but I'm trying not to make sure I don't gloss over anything, like a lot of people did for Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk. We know he struggled with some back-footed fighters. Even the guys he mopped the floor with, Billy Joe Saunders and Amir Khan. There's points in the fight to where they had some success. Billy Joe Saunders, Amir Khan, a little bit on the smaller side. Let's start with Billy Joe. I just analyzed that. Huge mistake he made was fighting with a high guard, but he made it through the fight. Okay, he survived, with the exception of getting his orbital broken and he couldn't continue. So he didn't get knocked out clean, and he was losing that fight, but he was still going through. If he never had a broken orbital, who knows? Okay, actually, I'm not gonna say who knows. I know Canelo would have won the fight, but I'm saying who knows if he could have had a little bit more success on the back end of the fight. Amir Khan, chinny. He was chinny before we all made fun of Amir Khan for how chinny he is. And he was significantly smaller than Canelo Alvarez. And he had that high guard. He was getting ripped to the body, and eventually he got knocked out cold. It's hard for me to give Canelo a lot of credit on beating Amir Khan, okay? I give him a lot of credit for beating Billy Joe. I thought Billy Joe would be tougher. He beat Danny Jacobs. I wouldn't say Danny Jacobs is a pure back-footed fighter, but Danny Jacobs did fight off the back foot and counterpunch in that fight a lot. And he gave Canelo some issues. He even got Canelo out of his game plan. He got him to abandon cutting off the ring. And Canelo had to kind of change it up a bit and had to back up at times and try to counterpunch. It wasn't an easy fight for Canelo. He won, but it wasn't an easy fight. Then we look at Erislandy Lara. A lot of people thought that Erislandy Lara beat Canelo Alvarez. For me personally, I couldn't give it to Erislandy Lara. I think he did nice things, but I wanted to see Lara settle down on his punches, exchange a little bit, let the judges and everybody know that he was the ring general. He moved when he wanted to move, but he never did that. He never settled in. He never backed down Canelo. He never sat in the pocket with him at points in the fight. So I couldn't give him the W, but nonetheless, it was a close fight. It went 12 rounds. As it did Danny Jacobs. Then we look at Floyd Mayweather. We all know what happened with that fight. He got outclassed. And for you that say that, for all you guys, I'm sorry, there's no bias here. I'm telling you the truth. He wouldn't beat Mayweather. You take this version of Canelo, he's not going to beat a prime Mayweather. Okay? He's just not. It's just not there. Okay? Mayweather was able to beat him. Everybody says, oh, he's you know, he just has reaction and reflexes that are unbelievable. Of course he does, but it was more his IQ that won him the fight, okay, than it was his talent. Mayweather played his cards perfectly, and he didn't need power, okay, and he didn't even need a lot of speed. And he didn't back up the whole time in that fight. He actually backed Canelo Alvarez and picked him apart in the corner or on the ropes at times. Okay, but Canelo in that fight, he went down to the body. He tried cutting off the ring. You know, he tried backing up at times and trying to counter. It didn't work. And it didn't work because Mayweather protected his body at all costs. And then you mix that in with the phenomenal defense in terms of upstairs with his head movement. There's nothing to hit now. There's nothing you can do to slow this guy down or stop him. Now he's able to dictate and control the tempo and the pace and the distance of the fight. And he got picked apart all night long. But it wasn't a result of because he didn't go to the body. It wasn't a result of because he didn't have some of the boxing abilities that he has now. Now is he a little bit more stronger and quicker and faster? Yeah, but I don't think that would have made a difference even now against Mayweather. It wouldn't have, because it's not the speed and power that that helps you implement your game plan, okay, against a guy like Mayweather. It's more about timing. It's more about the stylistic matchup, and it's just a bad style for him. But Caleb Plant, in my opinion, he has the right tools to make this interesting, you guys. He has the right, and he has size. We talk about Kovalev, and we talk about Callum Smith. Well, Canelo beat big guys like Sergey Kovalev, Callum Smith. Those guys don't box like Caleb Plant. Okay, Sergey Kovalev was burnt out. He was completely burnt out by the time he faced Canelo Alvarez, and he wasn't fighting like the Crusher. He was fighting off the back foot. Kovalev doesn't fight off the back foot, as you saw. He was absolutely terrible against Canelo. And Callum Smith, I'm sorry, he's not as slick as Caleb Plant. So let's think about this real quick. we have Caleb Plant. He's 6'1". He's going to be bigger than Billy Joe Saunders, and he's going to be bigger than Amir Khan. And although he's bigger, he's going to be a more slick version to deal with than a Callum Smith and a Sergey Kovalev. He has a pretty sharp jab. It's not a jab that's going to back you up like Triple G, but that's not what he's trying to do. He's not trying to back Canelo up. He has a sharp enough jab to disrupt him. He can get flash knockdowns because he knows how to turn you into punches, okay, and catch you off balance. He has a good hook, okay? He will let his hands go. He will throw punches in bunches, so that gives him the ability to stand his ground and exchange at times. He has to be very careful, though, because he has to deal with the power of Canelo. He has the right guard. He does keep that lead hand down, so it'll be hard for Canelo to gauge where he's at in space, possibly if Caleb plays it right. I've seen Plant. He knows how to feint. He has good footwork. He can box off the back foot. I don't know about his chin. I really don't. That's going to be the biggest question. Does he have a good chin? If he has a good chin, that's going to be huge. Okay, I think size should help him a little bit to be able to withstand some of those punches from the smaller guy. He has shown the ability. He will attack the body. He will throw right hooks. He will throw left hooks down to the body. And the biggest issue for Caleb Plant is his head movement, okay, in that Philly shell guard. He tends to get caught a lot, okay, and experience. Lack of experience, and his head movement isn't A1. But mentioning all those factors, it makes me wonder, could he cause some problems for Canelo? Could we be overlooking him? Because at the end of the day, you guys, experience is important, right? You have to understand how to get through the fire and see a bunch of different styles. But if you have the right style to deal with your opponent, that can kind of supersede your lack of experience, if you have the right style. How do you think some of these young and up-and-comers beat some of these seasoned veterans? You know, they don't have the experience, but they're able to do it. Now, obviously, they're younger and they're better, right? But they're able to overcome that lack of experience nonetheless. I think this might be more interesting than we think it will be. I think it will, unless Caleb Plant has a very weak chin. I think it could be more interesting. I'm very fascinated with this. I was putting it out there that I believe Canelo will win by KO. I'm really starting to wonder now. I don't want to pick against this man because he is the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, and that experience, that resume is very hard to overlook compared to Caleb. But once again, I'm doing my homework and I'm keeping it 100. I'm not emotional about this, and I'm trying to make sure I'm thorough in studying this fight before I just jump out there and say, well, Canelo's going to win easy peasy, nothing to see here. It could be more interesting than we think. And I don't know if it's true. I heard rumors that Andre Ward was saying Caleb's going to knock out Canelo. I don't know if I'll go that far, but it's very interesting. I don't know if that's true or not, but if he said that, I'm very curious to why he thinks that, because Andre Ward is no dummy, obviously, when it comes to the sport. And I don't think he's very emotional as well. So if he's saying that, there must be something he knows and he sees that we don't. And that's why I'm trying to do my homework on this. I think there's a little bit more to this fight than we're giving it credit for. And here's the last thing, you guys. Caleb Plant, I think he's coming to fight. Now, he may get in there and figure out, like, whoa, this is a level I have never experienced, and he may figure out, I don't belong in here. And that might change his mentality real quick. But I don't get that vibe that he's going in there just for a paycheck and he's going to retirement. I think he's going to try to come and win. I do. I think he's going to try to come and win, at least until he figures out that this is something, a whole nother ball game. He seems game. He seems Like, he's not going to just play the role, get knocked out, and collect my paycheck and retire. It seems like he's going in there like, yo, I'm coming. Don't get it twisted. So I like that mentality. I don't know, you guys. I'm not there yet to just say this is going to be an easy fight for Canelo. I'm not there yet. I think Caleb can shock a lot of people. I'm not saying he's going to win, because even if he does get it to scorecards, that the judges, it's going to be hard to convince the judges against the cash cow of boxing. But yeah, a little more homework I got to do, and then I'll get back to you guys on my final prediction. We still got a little bit of time before this fight. I'm just very curious to see this go down, and I can't wait to see it. But like the video, comment down below. What do you guys think? Do you think I'm just reading too much into this? Do you think Plant has any sort of a shot? How do you think the fight's gonna go down? Subscribe if you haven't. I'm trying to build this channel. It's new, you guys. And like the video, comment below, all that jazz, man. I keep on repeating because I keep on forgetting. This is what happens when you get punched upside the head for a long time. But yeah, get at me, you guys. Final round.